podcast, we're going to talk about betting. If you're a bettor of any sort, this is a good place to start. So obviously, Detroit's a 4.5 point favorite, 46.5 over under. If you look at 46.5 over under, give the game total. This has hit last two times they played each other, Detroit and Seattle, and Detroit has covered 4.5 in two of their last three games at 67% clip. The money line, Detroit has won 5 out of their last 7 games at a 71% clip. And if you're looking at the team total, Detroit has gone over 25.5 team total against Seattle. And obviously, the way that Seattle ranks in the terms of the league, they rank fourth in points against. But if you look at who they played, it really don't matter. Let's get to the anytime touchdowns. This is going to be a great one to watch. Obviously, you see Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are up at the top as like, minus 115 and minus 110. When you look at the anytime touchdowns, Dave Montgomery has hit 4 of his last 4 games, 2 of his last 2 home games at 100% clip. Jahmyr Gibbs has hit over anytime, over 0.5 touchdown in the last 6 of the last 7, and he has hit in 5 of his last 6 home games at 83 to 86% clip. DK Metcalf, if you're looking at a Seattle Seahawk that could potentially score a touchdown that doesn't leave you feeling queasy, he has hit 100% of the time in the last 2 games. He's hit 2 of his last 2 games, and he's hit 5 of his last 6 away games at an 83% clip. So right off the hop, and if you want a value play because he is at 100%, he's hit 3 of the last 3 games, but keep in mind Kenneth Walker has been out. This is a guy that you could play in Zach Charbonnet. He would be a realistic look at that. If you look at the over-unders for the receiving yards, if you look at receiving yards and the over-unders, Tyler Lockett has hit two of his last 2 games against Detroit, 100%. He's hit 3 of his last 4 games. Jahmyr Gibbs has hit over 21.5 receiving yards in his last 4 home games at 100% clip. He's hit 4 of the last 6 games. And Amon-Ra St. Brown has hit in 8 of the last 10 games. Has hit in 10 of the last 11 home games, and he's at a 91% clip at home. So that's someone that you could look at. Jameson Williams has hit 2 of his last 2 home games at 100% clip, and 2 of his last 3 games, he's at a 67% clip. If you look at DK Metcalf, if this is another one where you want to kind of bet against Detroit and get what you want, this is a good one. DK Metcalf has hit 64.5 receiving yards 2 of his last 2 games and 2 of his last 2 games against Detroit. He's at 100% clip. And then Sam Laporta has hit under 37.5 receiving yards the last 2 games. We all know why. If you want to undervalue bet, it's at minus 108 right there. At Dave Montgomery, 8.5 receiving yardage. He has hit over this amount 2 of the last 2 games, and he's hit in 3 of his last 4 home games. So he's at a 75 to 100% clip. And obviously, if you're looking at some Seattle Seahawks numbers, Kenneth Walker under 11 reception yards, under 11.5 reception yards. He's hit this in the last 2 games against Detroit. And Noah Fant under 26.5 receiving yards. He's hit this 2 of the last 3 times. If you look at Lions rushers, let's look at this right now. Obviously, you see that Jahmyr Gibbs 52.5, Dave Montgomery 60.5. You look at this rushing yards. Jahmyr Gibbs has hit over 52.5 100% of the time in his last 2 games. 2 of the last 3 home games, he's at a 67% clip at home, 100% in the last 2 games. Under 55 rushing yards, Detroit has held Kenneth Walker under 55.5 rushing yards, which is not on here because FanDuel didn't have it on there because they didn't know if he was going to play. But he seems like he's going to play. Obviously, we know Detroit ranks 4th in rushing. Dave Montgomery has hit 3 out of his last 4 games over 65.5, which is a 75% clip. And this is something that you should really look into. Both these guys can go off, but if you really want a good kind of key bet on the outside, do 40 alternate rushing yards for Jahmyr Gibbs, and then do 60 for Dave Montgomery, and then throw an anytime touchdown there, and you'll be fine. That's a good way to do it. Passing, this is an easy one. Detroit has obviously 248.5 for Jared Goff, 244.5 for Geno Smith. If you look back over the time, Jared Goff has hit this in 8 of the last 10 games, 2 of the last 2 games against the Seattle Seahawks, and he's hit 6 of the last 7 home games at an 86% clip. His lowest percentage is 80% in the 8 of the last 10 games. Geno Smith has hit 2 of the last 2 games at 244.5 yards, and has hit 2 of the last 2, obviously, against Detroit. And you look at the teams that he's played. I mean, there's not many that are like going to jump out at you with the Broncos, which that he did not cover that. Uh, 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 Patriots, which their defense is all right, but he threw for 327 yards, and head to head. Last time he was in Detroit, 328 yards and then 320 yards the year before when it was a 45-48 game, and then last year when it was a 37-31 game. And if you're going to look at some other numbers that you can look at, obviously, if you're going to bet the over on the pass touchdowns, you can, because both these quarterbacks have thrown 2 pass touchdowns plus in the game against each other. Obviously, people are going to be scared because of Seattle's defense and their pass defensive ranking. I'm here to tell you, okay, it could be a little bit misleading because of the quarterbacks that they played. Let's go over it again. Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett, and Skylar Thompson. I would say that if you win against those guys, you should have some of the top pass defense numbers in the league, because that's not really that great, to be honest. And Bo Nix was in his first game, and although he does look good in the last 2 games, that was his first game as a rookie, and he did not look good, especially passing the ball.